All right, guys, this is Julian with Juleon Tech Reviews, and we're here with another video. And today we're going to talk about my top 5 reasons why I left Android and went on to Apple. But before we get into that, please like, subscribe to this channel. Greatly appreciate it. If you can donate below, you can hit that button. We greatly appreciate it. Buy me a cup of coffee. That'll help our endeavors in creating these wonderful videos for you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. So today we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons I left on Android. And one of the first things we're going to talk about is USB-C. Now, thanks to our European brethren and partners over there, they have decided to make Apple a USB-C type company. And that is probably one of the first reasons why I think I'm okay with moving over from Android to Apple. I pretty much have everything in my ecosystem has all types of Android chargers, which include wireless charging and includes USB Type-C. But now they've made it available for Apple. So now I can just plug and play. And the good thing about it is that Apple is getting better with their charging. They're allowing, I think, up to 40 watts of fast charging, which is great because I have tons of chargers from my Vivo and Oppo phones that have the brick chargers up to 90 watts. So that has not been a problem. So, and then the entire ecosystem now, where the latest products at Apple have all USB-C, including the AirPods Max that I just reviewed in my last video. The MacBook Pro has, USB-C ports everywhere. I mean, pretty much everything except, the Apple Watch, of course, but the back end of the Apple Watch charger is like a USB Type-C. So it has been universally loved by me and I appreciate it. And that's what made my transition from Android to Apple so much easier. This cord, this USB Type-C. All right, the second reason that I left Android is the polished design. Now, some might find this controversial because there are better looking Android phones. And to a certain extent, the hardware on the Android side is a little bit better. I mean, even though this form factor hasn't really changed for the Apple. But when I say polished design, I mean, if Apple is going to introduce something and it might be late, one of the things that they do is make sure that it's, tried and tested for the most part. If they are going to, for instance, want to create a foldable phone, they're not going to give you the beta version, the lackluster hardware, whatever they do. And if they're working on a foldable, it's going to be top of the line. Everything is tested, engineered to, great extent. But every single time that, for instance, the simple, candy bar style phone, even though it's been kind of the same form factor, I haven't had any issues with any excess cracking or any kind of like scratches and whatnot. I mean, I pretty much put it in the case, which protects it a lot, but I've just never had any issues with the design because it's just so polished. And then when we talk about, continue on the subject of being polished, the software is a lot polished. Now, it might not have all the bells and whistles that Android phones have had, the super duper multitasking, which I do miss, by the way. But for instance, this dynamic island, I don't see any phone out there in the market that has this dynamic island. Now, at first I thought, hey, why don't they get rid of this and make it more of a, little circle? But Apple is stubborn and they're going to keep this, kind of like, at first it was a chin, but now it's kind of like a bean. And this dynamic island is like one of the best things that Apple has created. Every time I order Uber Eats, this pops up. Every time there's a game on, I'm using the Apple Sports app and it puts the score up there and it tracks it real time. I've had a great time enjoying this. And let's also talk about another thing. They're the innovators of the MagSafe. Now, the MagSafe built inside the unit, which is a great thing, allows me to get all types of MagSafe accessories, including a wallet, a stand, anything. And then the camera button is great. The camera button, I know it's simple, dynamics, and it's right here on the top, but just the fact that they have this little pressure software where you can kind of, see the animation, that's what I mean by polished. Like Sony has a camera button. I'm sure, or when you hold it landscape. But Apple just does it just a little bit better, in my opinion. And the third thing we're going to talk about is the cultural impact. And just when I say cultural impact, I mean family dynamic and, friends dynamic. So most of my family has Apple. And I've been one of the only ones, the black sheep of the family, that kept everything Android because it makes sense. We have Google Home where you can just say, hey, Google, and everything lights up and it works. Siri is not as good as, Google Home, but it's getting better. So we've always felt like we were smarter people. So the pressure of being the only one that has Android has been, somewhat weird. But ever since I got on Apple, everything's opened up. My calendar is updated with everybody's calendars for some reason. I don't know how it happened, but as soon as I put my email in, all people's invitations and calendar invites pop up. The photos, the shared photo folders pop up. Just being able to transfer anything from the iMessage. Everybody has iMessage. Everybody can do FaceTime with ease. Now you can do all these things, as I mentioned before, with Android, but Apple, going back to my point number 2 about being polished, it is so much polish on the Apple device is crazy. So that's the third reason, just the cultural impact and just being able to have, the family have it so we can share, without being the Android black sheep of the family. All right, and the fourth reason is the ease of use. Now, as I mentioned before, it has the dynamic island. It has, simple, basic, phone features, and it does have built-in voicemail, which is, I was going to say visual voicemail. Now, Google phone has visual voicemail. Samsung doesn't have it as of yet. Some other phones do, but it comes standard with Apple, and it's easy to use. The camera button is easy to use. Now they made the silent, not only a switch, but switch it to a button, but now you can use it for multiple functions. I use it mostly for silent, but I like the little animation that it creates when you're using it. The volume button is standard. It's on the left side. You got your power button on the right side, and then you got your camera button on the side. So I can use this up and down point click camera. I can access all of my widgets and all of my apps on this, and I can, customize the colors to a certain extent. So that's great. So I think that is ease of use is just keeps me coming back to Apple over the years. And then lastly is the safety related features. So Apple is pretty much like all housed within, the hardware and the software in its own, environment and bubble. So I think that reason alone has made this really a safe phone to have. And I know there's been hacks in the past, for some, Apple products or whatnot. So it's not immune 100%, but I feel it's a little bit more safe to use. And I think I can feel at ease not having to worry about anybody hacking into my iPhone. That's subjective. So you can, correct me if you want in the comments below, but I just haven't had any issues. Every time I open up my Bank of America app or any kind of app, it'll do a face unlock. And I'm not sure if face unlock is the, total securest, but it does work, and it uses it every single time that I try to get into my bank account. And they also have additional safety features where you can require Face ID to get into an app, which is amazing. So you can just kind of, lock up this phone and this software as much as you want. And then the Find My iPhone feature, definitely puts a lot of safety in your hands because all of your devices are on this particular app, and you can't sell it. You can't get rid of it unless you, totally disconnect from your phone. So I just love that feature about it. And, obviously when you do a reset, it makes sure that you log into your iCloud and you log out. It's just a lot of, two-factor authentications. Everything is great when it comes to the safety features here. But I'm gonna also give you a bonus one. So out of the top 5, those are like the main reasons why I switched over. But lastly, it's the ecosystem. So the ecosystem on Apple is great. Now, when I go back to my point number 2 about being polished, Android, which I had Samsung for the past, does have an ecosystem. They have their tablets, they have their computers, they can, turn into, extended monitors and all that. But Apple blows them out of the water when it comes to that. For instance, I have, the iPad Pro here. Now, all of my text messages, emails, calendars, it communicates so swiftly and so quickly between, the tablet, and now I have a MacBook Pro and the phone. So at any point, I can go to my watch, I can go to, my tablet, my notifications, whatever I do on here, it'll, produce over there, and it'll give you indications. So the ecosystem is just another cherry on the top. I mean, this is a great system to be a part of. And the good thing about it, this ecosystem, you don't have to necessarily change over every year to get the latest and greatest. You can kind of stick with it. Unless Apple comes up with a totally different design that blows this one out of the water. I don't foresee myself getting another Apple iPhone other than just to test it to see what's so different between, the different models of year. But that's just, another point when it comes to the system, the ecosystem being great, is why I switched from Android to Apple. So those are my reasons, the top 5, including the bonus one, the ecosystem. Let me know what you think. Did you switch over from Android to Apple, or are you thinking about switching over to Android from Apple? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining me, Julian, and Juleon Tech Reviews. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Peace.